Beat Making Basics.
What's going on YouTube? Beat Making Basics back again with another dope video. If you're new to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Also give me a thumbs up on the video and leave a comment in the description. But without further ado, let's jump into today's content. What we're going to be doing is finishing this beat. All right, this is a trap beat that we made using stock plugins. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to mix the beat using stock plugins. So we're not going to be using any fancy plugins, any fancy stuff, just some basic fundamental mixing techniques. So let's just listen to the beat real quick. I'm going to play, the intro and the hook, a little bit of the verse, and then we're going to get straight into the mix. That's about enough just to get a good vibe, man. So that's the beat. Basically what we're going to do, first things first, is go ahead and export this whole beat as audio files. Reason why it's going to be a whole lot easier for the computer to process the audio files rather than MIDI files. If you look at these MIDI files, see all these different plugins that are on here. When I get to add in plugins, especially like with certain instruments and stuff like that, this is going to be a better situation. So what we're going to do that is actually we're going to hold down Shift, Command, and E, and that's going to pull up this export option. Then what we can do is go ahead and go to New Folder, and I'm just going to put the beat name. I'm going to say stems, and I'll even can say rough because these are like the pre-stems before we mix it. Make sure you got 24-bit. Make sure it's a wave, make sure overload protection is on, push create, and then export. All right, y'all. So now that we have everything exported as audio files, the next thing we're going to need to do is actually close this session and open up a brand new session. So what we're going to do is go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and go to File, go to New. We're going to go ahead and close this session. We'll save it. And we're going to open up an audio file like so. All right, cool. So what we'll do, we'll come over here to the top right of the screen and click this box right here, the last box you see. And then you can go to all files, go to your desktop, and you can find that beat there. So it's called the Minute Stems Rough. So I can click on here, just take this over here and then drag it right in. All right, and then what you're going to want to do is to say use existing tracks, click on OK. And you want to go ahead and change your BPM. Make sure that the BPM is the same BPM as the actual beat. Actually, I forgot the BPM, so we'll just open that real quick. See what that BPM is real quick. Make sure it's the right BPM. 140. See, yeah, I would have messed that up. I'll say cool. So it's 140 BPM. All right, bet. So we got this here. Everything is A-OK, ready to go. All the files are here. The next thing we're gonna do is actually organize everything. So I'm gonna delete this file right here, and we're gonna organize everything. So I usually like to put my drums at the top. So I'm gonna move the kick up here, move that clap up here, hi-hats, got a snare, move that up there. And we can put our sub after that. We got our bells, leads, pad, okay, bet. And you could just go the extra mile if you want and just, make sure everything looks clean. For some reason I had this one after all these. So I'm gonna clean this, basically clean this session up, make sure everything looks good. And this is just for like when you're looking at your mix, you want to be able to tell what everything is. You don't want to have to be confused. Oh, is that bell 1 or bell 2? Or is that, this or this, that? That's why I'm cleaning this up. So it's kind of a mandatory thing just based on staying organized. So I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to push Shift Option N. And what that's going to do is everything I just named right here is going to go right over here to the workspace window. And now we're ready to go ahead and jump into this mix. First thing I would do is actually come over here to the hook, okay, and create a loop, okay. Then we'll go over here to the mixer window, and I'm going to bring everything down here like that. So like whenever I mix a beat, the first thing I'm like to do is just go ahead and get the levels right first. So we'll start with the drums. I'll start one by one. We'll go with the kick and move our way up. All right, bet. So we got our levels pretty much to where we want them. As you can see right here, the drums are going to be sitting a little bit way more over the actual like melody part. I just kind of make sure that the kick and the snare and the clap were really the loudest part in the mix. Then after that, the hi-hats and the sub. Make sure that these are kind of sitting right where they need to be, and then put the melody right under the mix right here, right under the drums. Now, I'm going to use some tips and some tricks that I haven't been using in previous videos, especially since we're using stock plugins and stuff to mix these beats. So one thing is going to be to actually bus or group the tracks together and send them to a bus or an auxiliary track. So what that's going to do is give you more control over certain sections of the beat. So like for instance, I'm going to, go ahead and bus the melody, send all of these tracks right here over to its own individual auxiliary track. How you do that is just highlight everything, go to your stereo out, and then go to bus and pick one of the available buses right here. So bus 1, and then you're gonna name it. I'm just gonna say melody. Boom. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for the drums. And what this is gonna do is help when it comes to processing the drums and stuff, especially since we're using stock drums. And then I can do things like this. So say if I wanted to just focus on just drums, I don't have to come over here and individually mute out everything. Instead, I can just come over here and mute this. Vice versa, if I just wanted to mess with just the melody and I don't want to hear the drums, I can mute that. So this helps out. Okay, so now that I have that going, what we're gonna now do is get into some simple EQing, okay? we're going to be using something called subtractive EQing. And basically what this process is all about is creating room for certain other frequencies to push through the mix. Okay. So a lot of times when you're doing subtractive EQing, you're taking out a lot of the lows of some of the higher or mid-tone instruments so that the lower instruments, the instruments with the lower frequencies, can shine in the mix. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to come over here to the snare. We'll pull out some of the lows of that snare. Don't need it. You could probably go up to right somewhere around there. Same thing with the clap. Now, obviously, you do want to listen to it to make sure everything is good, and we'll go ahead and do that. And that's why you do want to make sure that you're listening all the way around, like anything you do, just because, you know, you can actually take out too much and it will be sounding like bad if you do that. So let's get the hi-hats done too. Take out the lows on that. And you just want to push it just to where it almost sounds like it's too much taken out, and then pull it back just a little bit to make some room there. Now, if you listen to it, it's going to really open up a whole lot of space for the kick and the sub. All right, bet. So what I also will do is come over here on the kick, and I'm going to take out just a little bit. I'm not going to take out as much because obviously the kick has a lot of lows there. So now that we've done that, let's start working on the melody. All right, cool. So pretty much we have everything for the most part done as far as EQ. Take a little bit of the highs out there on the sub. From there, I'm just going to do some basic panning certain things to the left or the right. General rule of thumb when it comes to the drums, everything is pretty much going to stay basic except for maybe the hi-hats. But you're going to really, keep the clap, snare, kick, all that type of stuff dead center. Same thing with the sub. Everything else can be moved over just a little bit, nudge it to the left or right, just to give it a little bit of stereo vibe on that. So let's go ahead and check that out. All right, cool. So we got those down. After that, I would say that we could just start working with a compressor on certain instruments, just to make certain things pop out in the mix just a little bit more. Like, for instance, you could put some things like on a kick, snare, those type of things. So let's just listen to it, see what needs what. let's try putting a compressor on that clap. All right. And what the compressor is going to do is basically bring those high sounds, kind of smush them together, bring the low sounds, smush it together, just make it sound more full. So we got certain things here. We got ratio, how much the other compressor is going to be on the mix. We got the attack, how fast it's going to actually work. We got the threshold, you know, at what point it's going to work. You know what I'm saying? We got the release, at what point it's going to release, different things like that. You just want to adjust these knobs till you get something that's going to sound right. Another cool thing here is you can actually also come over here and just pick between these, just to, you know, they have different vibes and different sounds, just based on what you pick right here. Really like that sound right there. So I'm actually going to take this same compressor, we can put it right here on the snare. Let's see how that sounds. Basically, as you hear there, I just gave it just a little bit more of a punch on that kick. So we're going to pretty much leave that alone at this point. Only other thing that I'm going to do when it comes to stock stuff, I feel like we can also maybe add some reverb to some of these instruments just to make them stand out in the mix. So let's just kind of see what we can do on the melody. A little tip that you could do is actually come over here where it says factory default, and then there's a lot of presets that you can use and go from there. I think it sounds fine as it is. It did add just a little bit to it, just doing that. Another thing I'm probably going to do a reverb on is this instrument right here. All right, bet. So got a little bit of reverb just to add a little space to the mix. We got some compression to make certain things pop out in the mix. We can control certain things over here as well. Overall, the mix sounds fairly clean. You know, I like to keep things simple when it comes to mixing, especially when it comes to mixing beats. You know what I mean? Only other tip I will say that you can do is come over here to the stereo out and just turn this down to like -4 dB. -4.6 dB, excuse me. And that'll create some guaranteed headroom in the mix. Yeah, y'all. I feel like the mix is pretty solid. You know, just let me know in the comments if y'all think the mix sounds dope. But I feel like the mix is pretty solid. So at this point, what I would do in this process, I would pretty much just go ahead and push Command B, and I would bounce this track down as a wave file, and I would do it as these settings. So I'll do wave 24-bit, and then I'll do the sample rate at 48, and you know, leave that alone, normalize off. Reason why I would do it like this, so say if you're going to upload this to, like, say BeatStars or something, basically you will get the best quality wave for them. You know what I'm saying? 24-bit and 48, that's going to be the best quality wave. At 44 1, basically you're going to be, that's going to be for CD. This is going to be for playing. Like, someone can take this at 44 or 24 or 48, put it into their session, and be able to get the best quality. And that's what you want for creation wise. So let's go ahead and bounce that down. Diminish. And I usually just say mix, just so I know that that's just the rough mix or whatever. And I'll bounce that down onto the to my desktop. Another thing it looks like I forgot to do is actually save this new session. You want to make sure that you save that session. That probably should have been one of the first steps there. So we'll do that now. Diminish. And I'll say new mix. And then after I do this, you know, you don't necessarily have to do this step, but I would just recommend doing it. Again, go ahead and bounce down, or excuse me, export your files as audio files. I know we already did that, but this way you're gonna have everything on here. So like, you'll get this kick, how it sounds, with your compressor and your EQ and stuff. You know what I mean? Keep in mind, this is all stock sounds, man. You know, if I was to swap this out for like maybe some sounds that sounded a lot better, the beat probably would go up a notch. Like, not probably, it definitely would go up a notch, just off of using better sounds. But hey, man, you know, it sounds pretty dope with just the stock sounds as well. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll just export everything, and I can just come over here and do a new folder. And I usually put the BPM on there, you know, 140 BPM. And this is what you're going to be using to upload the BeatStars as well. And I can always come in here and delete all this other stuff if I want. All right, bet. So we got that done. The next thing for me, I would go ahead and create a new session. All right, we'll close that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go with a new audio track, or audio track. And we're gonna go over here to the top right one more time. And we're gonna find that file, the minutes file. So see how you see the minutes right here, mix. Now I know that's the file. Take it and drag it on in. It's gonna ask to change the project to 48. You can say yes. It's gonna ask to import the tempo. You're gonna say yes. Now the tempo is imported. Click off of that. Hold down Option to zoom out. You can do it through your trackpad or your mouse. And now we have the mix ready to go. So last thing is last. What I would want to do is come over here to the stereo out, and we're going to go to dynamics, and we go to this adaptive limiter. And what that's going to do is basically be able to boost the level of this beat without it, you know, clipping and sounding horrible. So what we'll do first is go to this out ceiling right here and take this down to maybe like around negative 0.5 dB, true peak limiting detection on. And you can turn this gain all the way down to 0, and we can just start moving this up to the point till it's, you know, loud without it distorting and stuff like that. So we'll just do that now. Go ahead and put a little loop right there. So that's how it sounds with this stock plugin on here. This is what it sounds like without. Noticeable difference. But basically, like I said, what that does is basically put a basic master on the beat. Makes it sound louder, makes it sound more city quality, makes it sound, a little bit more crispier and everything like that. After you do that, you can just go ahead and bounce this down, push Command B. And this time what you want to do is you can go ahead and do a wave, but you already have the mix wave, so don't do that. I just go ahead and do this MP3. If you want to write some metadata, you can do that within here. I'm not going to do that, but you can do that on this. Push OK. And actually, let me just show you the settings on that. This is the highest level settings right here. A lot of times you might see songs of people doing it like with 128 or 192, but just do it at the 320 kbps. Do it there. Use beat and best encoding, frequencies below, filter frequencies below 10 hertz. You can keep that selected. Joint stereo, you don't want to do normal, you just do that. And normalize off. Okay, push OK. Name it. And what I also do on this is I'll come over here and just put the BPM. And then I'll put like my producer name, like say produce, and then I'll put my producer name, production company. And voila, this was gonna be the track that you'll use to let people hear your beat and stuff like that, and then you'll sell the actual other files. You feel me? So you got this track. Got this track, and then you got the stems as well. This is the real stems right here. Boom. You can come in here and rename it. Come in here and rename it if you want and everything like that. But yo, that's some basics on mixing your beat using stock plugins, mixing a trap beat with stock plugins. If you like the video, go ahead again, give me a thumbs up. Also leave me your comments in the comment section. And make sure you subscribe if you're brand new. Thanks so much for watching. Without further ado, we're out till the next one.